What we need is not more medication, but more education, because the best prescription is knowledge. This is Expose coming to you live from Lagos, Nigeria, every Monday on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook simultaneously. I'm your regular host, Tony Akiyami. Don't forget, what we need is not more medication, but more education, because the best prescription is knowledge. Welcome to Expose, brought to you every Monday at 8 p.m. Nigerian time on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook simultaneously. I'm your regular host, Tony Akiyami. We've been dealing with medical systems in the past couple of episodes, and I gave a background to the different medical systems: naturopathy, osteopathy, allopathy, chiropractic, homeopathy, traditional Chinese medicine, African traditional medicine, and I promise I will be bringing various practitioners on this program to share their experiences with us. Last week, we were honored to have Dr. Gbenga Oye, PhD, a first-class graduate of the Obafemi Awolowo University, who also proceeded for his master's and PhD in the same institution, who shed a lot of light on herbal medicine. And we couldn't conclude, so we promised that we will be having the second part of that conversation, and that's why, again, today we have with us Dr. Gbenga Oye, PhD. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much once again, sir.
We are always honored to have you with us. By the way, I forgot to mention last week that he's also one of our lecturers and facilitators at the Rafa Institute of Healthy Living. And whenever he comes to class, the students never want him, they don't want him to go. They want him to stay and take the classes for the whole day. He's very down to earth, very practical, and the things that he shares are very available and affordable and relatively very safe because they are derived from things right around us. One of the major things he mentioned last week is that what we call weed, the things we call grass and the things we call useless, are so because we don't know their value. The day we discover their usefulness, their value, we know that they are not weed, but they are economic plants, and we can take advantage of them. So today we want to delve into his practice. He runs a particular company that he has set up on the platform of which he renders service to people. It's called God in Nature Phytoresource Therapy. God in Nature Phytoresource Therapy. So tell us more about this, your company, and the products that you have. By the way, last week he mentioned that they customize herbal preparations client by client. Okay, it's not as if you have products that we can find in the pharmacy or that a doctor can prescribe, but when you meet with your clients, you evaluate them, and then you prepare customized herbal preparations for them. Let's have a little understanding as to how you go about that.
Thank you very much, sir. Well, this field of herbal medicine, it's a field that is personally interesting to me. But one thing that would always guide individuals who genuinely desire results from the client or the patients,
right,
is not to start with a sense of making gain with them,
okay,
or making money
out of the clients
because
or the patient.
If a patient complains 5 things and you want to make money, you want to exploit them for their ignorance, you want to recommend 5 different drugs, which eventually will not give you optimal results, and will even give you tendencies to the queries over the years on herbal medicine.
Right.
The philosophy I've run with over the years is the fact that it is possible to understand what is wrong with an individual. There may be 7 things at the same time that are manifesting.
Symptoms.
The same person may have diabetes, blood pressure. The same person may have enlarged heart.
Right.
The same person may have arthritis.
Okay.
Which, in fact, those 4 things I mentioned, they are
like companions.
They are together.
They travel together. Co-travel.
And the same person can now tell you that his libido is already done.
Okay.
They are still together.
Right.
But it's possible to understand those 5 things I've mentioned now and carefully select herbal resources, medicinal herbs.
Okay.
That when you formulate them together,
right,
it will give you just one medication.
Okay.
That one formulation is what I call customized herbal medication.
Okay.
It's customized because the ratio of combining these resources for you is influenced by what you have discussed.
Okay.
You may say, how scientific is it? At the level of herbal medicine, you use both scientific knowledge and discretional knowledge. You can't downplay the aspect of discretion.
Okay.
And what people need is results.
Right.
Not story. When you have results that is repeated or that is repeatable,
you can replicate
and without side effects.
Right.
You are free. You are happy to follow on.
Right.
So what we do at God in Nature Phytoresource Therapy is that we listen to you. If need be, we recommend 1 or 2 medical tests that will give us a more accurate or a more sensitive scientific information about you.
Okay.
Then we go to the lab to formulate one single herbal formulation for you. And that's why you use it over the time. It may be 1 month, maybe 2 months, maybe 3 months, depending on the situation. But one thing I can always tell you is that you have improvement without negative side effects until you are whole. So that's my take about that.
That's awesome. Thank you very much. Now let me bring it down to something very specific. Somebody walks up to your office and he has diabetes. Maybe he's been to the hospital, he's been diagnosed with diabetes. Maybe he's been trying to manage it for 5 years, and he feels, look, I've been swallowing capsules and tablets and taking insulin all this while, and I'm still diabetic. Is there anything you can do for such a person? Not just to keep their blood sugar low, but to reverse diabetes. That's 1. And 2, to prevent complications that normally follow people who have managed diabetes for years. Because you see, I've seen several people who have been very faithful and very compliant with taking their medications for diabetes. And in fact, I met a man who told me, my doctor is very good. I said he has been managing me for the past 20 years. And I have been taking my drugs faithfully. And my blood sugar is under control. I said, well, sir, but you are still diabetic, But I want to ask you, if somebody has been treated for 20 years and he is still diabetic, personally, I don't think that is the kind of result I'm looking for. Good enough that the person has been kept alive, the person has not died, and so on and so forth. That's good enough, but it's not the best option. Is there something in herbal medicine, for example, and in your practice, in your experience, that can say, okay, one of these days, after we help to address your condition, you will no longer be diabetic? Is that possible?
Yes, sir. Thank you very, very much. Yeah. Categorically, I would say it is possible.
Right.
But other factors are hanging around that possibility.
Okay.
We know that a diabetic person has a compromise on his quality of insulin production and interaction with food, and digestions, taking up of excess sugar from the blood and so on. But basically, we also know that the body does not produce sugar in itself, except what is externally introduced to the body.
Right.
and digested to become available sugar in the blood.
Okay.
So a diabetic person will always need to follow a disciplined dietary guide
Okay.
that regulates the amount of calories released into his blood and the quality of the calories
Okay.
released into the blood. And again, the medications that herbal medicines would prescribe, they are giving us a platform that the ability of the body to help itself is improved day by day.
Okay.
In other words, the insulin production will gradually improve.
Okay.
The rate of using up sugar from the blood
Okay.
will also be handled because it will be in a more body-friendly way.
Right.
If you have sugar retained in your blood for a longer time, it will still be reading the sugar.
Right.
But when the sugar comes and goes,
Right.
comes and goes, without necessarily having to stay
Inside the
blood, you have, Another aspect I've always seen to people who are diabetic, usually they have tendency to urinate.
Okay.
And because they don't want to urinate, they reduce their water intake.
Okay.
That is the wrongest, or what I would call the highest error a diabetic person could do.
Okay.
Sir, thank God this is a cup of water. If I
should take a little sip.
If I put just 6 scoops of sugar into this cup, this is already half cup of water now.
Right.
If I take 6 scoops of sugar into this, the sugar concentration, you will know it's sweet in the mouth.
Yeah.
But if I just decide to fill it up,
water, okay,
and I didn't add extra sugar to it,
it will dilute it.
I've maintained the same amount of sugar, but different concentration.
Right, right.
What we measure in diabetes, what we talk about, okay, you are doing a test for sugar, is concentration of sugar per volume of blood.
That's right, that's right.
So I'm telling you that 6 scoops of sugar is still here, but because I've added more water, concentration has changed.
Okay.
So if I'm to consider this as blood now, the two of them have different sugar level.
Right.
Different sugar level.
Right.
Yet they have the same amount of sugar.
Correct.
So you need to drink water much more often, at least to aid dilution.
Right.
And that dilution that is being aided makes it easy for other organs in the body to interact with the system. Your kidney performs better at such concentration that is easier for you to process.
Right.
The liver, all the organs in the body, even the blood viscosity and so on, everything begins to move optimally.
Right.
So I want to say that when you have taken the right type of food, you should also take good quantity of water with adequate spacing that keeps your body at concentration that is friendly per time. So over time with medications, you realize that your blood sugar is consistently on the or tending to the normal range, until it maintains the normal range.
Right.
But I want to say that a lifestyle of adherence to diet, organic diet, natural diet, will still be my advice for anybody that had ever suffered diabetes.
Right.
Even when you are not on any herbal medication again.
Okay.
Let your food become your medicine.
Right.
There is no way you take bitter leaf, with the knowledge of vegetable aspect of it and the medicinal aspect of it in line with sugar, that you will not be taking advantage of dietary and medicinal value of bitter leaf.
Right.
And before you know it, over time, you are not consciously buying medication or formulating medication, but you are using your food as medicine to stabilizing yourself without any challenge.
Good.
But at this point, I want to say that many diabetic individuals are self-indisciplined. Even in that condition, they will still tell you that my doctor says that as long as I'm taking my medication, I can take whatever I like. That is the irony of it. They want to give you medication, but keep taking what you like, they know that if you don't do that, you won't be their client for life. And I tell you, it's a system we need to free ourselves from.
Somebody said a patient cured is a customer lost.
Yes, sir. that is the truth. But you see, that's why I started by saying that monetary gain should not be our motive.
You know, right.
Testimony of somebody you have helped will give you much more patients who are suffering from what has been healed.
That's right.
And that cycle is better. You'll be happier. Not that you have a patient for 20 years. I am now saying my doctor is a very good one.
Well, thank you very much for that answer. If there's a takeaway from this, what I have taken away from your answer is that if a person has a chronic degenerative disease, like diabetes or hypertension or arthritis or any of such, and they are treated with herbal medicine or any other modality for that matter, the focus should be to kind of rebuild the deranged body.
Yes, sir.
The body is deranged already.
Yes, sir.
The sugar management mechanism is deranged.
Yes, sir.
The ability to handle metabolic processes is completely deranged. And now you want to help to fix that, correct all the mechanism and create balance and restore function to every dysfunction. Now, when all of that has been done, the person's pancreas is able to produce sufficient insulin. The body of that person also improves in terms of insulin sensitivity, and they are able to utilize food properly. Now, when all of that has been regulated, it doesn't mean that the person should go back to the former way of life, former diet, former lifestyle that created that problem in the first instance. Otherwise, the problem will be recreated. So what the person needs to do is, when the deranged environment and setting has been corrected, the person now needs to maintain discipline to make sure that they eat correctly, they exercise correctly, and they drink water correctly, and that way they can sustain and maintain their gains, what they have gained, the health they have gained, they can maintain it. That's why one of my books, by the way, is titled How to Regain and Retain Your Health. You have to regain it and then retain it. That's thank you very much for that. I wanted to ask you this before we go on break. You talked about drinking water. What will you consider the amount of water that is good for a person to drink per day? Just one sentence.
Thank you very much. If you are not on medication, you are not on medication. When I say medication now, I'm talking of herbal medication.
Okay.
You may be okay with 2.5 liters of water per day.
Okay.
Or if you have desire for water, up to 3 liters. If you are not on medication.
Okay.
But when you are on medication, by experience, I've seen that it is always better for you to have in mind at least 3.5 to 4 liters
of
per
water.
day.
Okay.
Some of the things I say, sometimes I need to sit down. Not because I've read some of them up somewhere, but one day I just look at it that when you are using a very good detergent to wash a very dirty clothes, you know detergent will soap more. But you will need more water
to rinse
it. If not, you will not get the clean clothes. If you retain fabrics, if you retain that detergent on the fabrics, you will eventually weaken the quality of the fabric itself, and so on.
And when you wear it later too,
you know,
it will be on you.
So all those things, when you are on medication, your body needs more water to do extra dilution, because that medication is an external injection to the body.
So it can.
If you need more water to do external dilution, that makes it friendly enough for the kidney, for the liver, and for the other organs in the body to do the processing without harming them. So when people talk about agbo, herbs, concussion, compromises kidney, liver, sincerely speaking, it is possible.
If they
but
don't
it is
drink enough
only
water.
possible when you are not guided at all. But it is easy to be guided that if only you take a medication like herbs and you are taking enough water. One example, sir, I had my own personal landlord while I was still lecturing in Ife. I've resigned from Ife, OAU lecturing. But one day she took one herbal medicine that was made from alcohol infusion.
Okay.
It was alcohol decoction, like
Okay.
I would put it that way.
Right.
Now. She took it and she was knocked down almost immediately. The consultation was heavy for her.
Right.
Somehow she called me, and I heard her voice in that
Conversation.
lifeless form.
Okay.
When I got there, she was able to tell me I took a medication.
Right.
I pointed the agbo to me. Say, Mama, is it agbo? I was relaxed.
Okay.
If it is agbo, if it is herbal medicine, I feel that we can easily reverse it.
Right.
So I told her, Mama, just use the remaining strength in you to drink these 2 sachets of water. She drank, and in 5 minutes, Mama was smiling with me. She was smiling with me. Say, Baba Eri, thank you. Now, what I understood is that we needed to dilute faster the what has been into her. And thank God, today now she's doing actively strong. She's over 75 years now. She's a very active person. But that time, maybe we'll have lost her. So, little guidance, herbal medicine is easier guided than orthodox medicine. If you abuse orthodox medicine, you are on your own. But if you abuse herbal medicine, it is easy to reverse.
Right.
It is much easier to reverse.
Thank you very much. So we're going to go on a short break and then we'll be back very shortly. Please don't go away.
About 8 million Nigerians suffer from hypertension and 4 million has diabetes. 100,000 new cases of cancers are diagnosed each year in Nigeria. These and many more chronic disease conditions are cutting the lives of many short. Join Tony Akinyemi to be equipped to prevent and reverse these and many more chronic diseases at the online Module 2 Healthy Living Training. Courses cover areas like advanced weight management, tropical herbs in usage, infertility, eye health, prevention and reversal of hypertension, prevention and reversal of diabetes, prevention and reversal of arthritis. Date: Wednesday, June 23rd to Saturday, June 26, 2021. For more details, please call 0902 976 6076 or 0806 702 0412.
Welcome back. This is Expose, and I'm still your host, Tony Akinyemi. We have today with me on this conversation on herbal medicine as one of the medical systems that we are looking at, Dr. Gbenga Oye, PhD, a first-class graduate of agricultural science of Obafemi Awolowo University. He also obtained his master's and PhD in the same institution and was a lecturer in that institution up until this month. I believe, this month. And he has finally resigned his appointment as a lecturer in that university to focus more on his laboratory and herbal product development and research and addressing wellness and health with herbal resources that we have in the environment here. Thank you very much for the insights that you have brought to us on this subject. First and foremost, you have helped to, clear the minds of those who may have some misgivings regarding herbal medicine, particularly people of faith, particularly Christians, who believe that if you pluck a leaf or you pluck a herb and you blend it or you boil it and drink it, that you are committing sin. You have helped to clear the air about that, that it is not a sin to use the herbs that God has given to us, because the Bible even talks about it in several places. Genesis 1:29, Psalm 104, verses 13 to 15, the book of Ezekiel, the book of Revelation, everywhere. There are, in fact, when the prophet Isaiah went to Hezekiah and told him, "Thus saith the Lord, put your house in order, you are going to die." Hezekiah prayed to God, and God sent the same prophet to go back and tell him, "I've added 15 more years." But it was not just the prophecy he brought.
Told
He
him
also
what to
told him what to do.
Yes, sir.
Said, go to your backyard,
Take the fig leaf,
pluck fig leaves and make some
poultice.
poultice and put it on your boils. I mean, that's herbal medicine in the Bible right there. When Timothy, the bishop in Ephesus, wrote to his father in the Lord, Apostle Paul, he said, Daddy, I have this stomach infirmity. I believe Paul must have prayed for him.
Yes.
And at the same time, he said, okay, don't drink ordinary water now. Drink the juice of grapes.
Like wine.
Like wine. He said, for your stomach infirmity's sake. That's a home remedy that the Apostle Paul was giving right there. So we can see that all these things, God has given them to us, and you have helped us to clear the air that as Christians, as people of faith, as people of God, as those who love God and fear God, we don't want to contaminate ourselves spiritually, but at the same time, we must be able to draw the line and know what is useful, what is not useful. I thank you for that particular one. And then you have also told us that we need to educate ourselves to know how to do some basic things for ourselves and utilize resources around us. And that's why I keep saying what we need is not more medication, but more education.
Yes, sir.
And the best prescription is knowledge. Now, many people have been destroyed because of ignorance. And the Bible says so. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. You shared an experience with us last week of a woman who had a problem, a cardiovascular problem, was supposed to travel abroad for treatment, and yet somebody pointed to a particular plant in her backyard.
Yes.
And she herself was a nurse. And then she used that herb, and she didn't need to travel abroad for treatment. She recovered miraculously with the resource right at her backyard. We have many resources around us, and I believe that God has given them to us. They are available, they are affordable, they are safe. We just need to thankfully receive them from God. I'm going to ask you some major questions regarding this, particularly relating to how, as a country, our government in Nigeria, for example, the Federal Ministry of Health, the federal government, the state governments, how do they come into, how do we help to focus people in political power, people in authority, political leaders, into focusing on these resources, forest resources, herbal resources, available as a gold mine for us, for economic purposes, and of course for health benefits. I'll come to that, but before then I want to ask you a personal question. Are you married? Of course I know that, but I want our viewers to know. Right.
Yes, I am married.
Right.
I'm married to Dr. Mrs. Queen Esther Oye.
Right.
She's also a lecturer.
A PhD holder too.
PhD holder
Wow,
too.
PhD versus PhD.
And,
Your children must all become professors.
by God's grace, we are blessed with two children,
Right.
Erioluwa and Ibukun Oluwa.
Thank you very much for letting us into some of your privacy.
Thank you.
Now, I want you to come to look at the camera and speak as if you are talking to our president in Nigeria, as if you are talking to the Honorable Minister of Health in Nigeria, as if you are talking to all our governors in all the states, people in political power, political authority, policy formulators, and decision makers, our leaders in the political terrain, and tell them, say, look, this is one area that you need to start looking at, and change the paradigm of always looking abroad for remedies and solutions. We have everything right here, and we have the human resources, the personnel that have the knowledge and the wherewithal. How do we harness? Please help me talk into that camera.
Thank you very much, sir. Well, I, at this point, would like to say that while I was still like 10, 12 years old, I've always had an impression that I would become a pharmacist. Drug production, meeting the needs of the sick, and so on. But I believe God knows that it's a good desire, but possibly in a better direction.
Okay.
If I become an
pharmacist.
orthodox pharmacist, I think I won't have the fulfillment God is giving me right now.
Okay.
The first degree experience I had, it was in resource management and extension in the Faculty of Agriculture, OAU.
Okay.
And I was the first person to ever delve into urban resource dimension. because of what I've been observing from the environment.
Right.
God gave me that first class and gave me the best faculty student award that year. But that still led me to 7 years of training.
Right. Informal
and formal.
Okay.
My master's and PhD revolved around it.
Okay.
But even in that program, there are people that know me in Oshogbo market, this traditional Aba market.
Right.
They know me well that sometimes I come to buy things from them, I sit down with them. These indigenous, these people, we should not despise them. Thank God for education that makes us able to embellish what they said locally, package it in a way that to be able we can communicate it to the elite community.
And it can even become an export commodity.
Yes.
Right.
But what I observe is that in this country, urban medicine, not in Yoruba land alone, across these regions, they are indeed is an endowment that we are blessed with. And many of the people that had the original information are dying without replicating the knowledge.
I mean, I'll cut you in here. I apologize for that. And share a personal experience. Then don't forget where you left off so they can continue. When I was 13 years old, I remember very well, 13 years old. I had just completed my primary 6 education. My parents couldn't send me to high school, so I had to go work as a domestic servant for a period of 4 years, saving money to go to secondary school. Now, my first year of working, the person I was working with, I developed something that looks to me now, with my understanding, as peptic ulcer. I can trace the history of how the whole thing developed. You know, we had not eaten from morning. I mean, the 13-year-old boy with other children that of the man I was working with, because the man traveled, there was no food at home, and nobody to give us food. So we didn't eat breakfast, we didn't eat lunch, we were crying, you know. And then a neighbor just gave us raw rice to go and cook, to eat. So we boiled the rice. It was very hot, steaming hot. We poured it into a bowl, and 3 of us, myself and the 2 children of the man I was working for, we sat around the bowl. Of course, we put some sauce on it, and we were eating it steaming hot like that. You know, by the time we finished, we went to bed. Next morning, I woke up, my tummy was churning, as if they were turning amala inside my tummy. And I vomited all the rice undigested.
Wonderful.
Whole grains,
Wonderful.
like that. It was not digested. Wonderful. And from then on, I had to hold on to my tummy like this. Hey, my tummy. My parents had to come and fetch me. They were in the village. I was in the town. They came to the town because they told them, your son is dying. So they came to pick me and took me to the village, to their farm. They didn't know what to do for me. Okay, before they went to the village, they first of all took me to the general hospital in the town. And I saw a consultant pediatrician. It was an Indian lady who was a consultant pediatrician. Of course, she looked at me, she prescribed different things. In fact, I had to be going to the hospital to take injection for 8 days. 1 injection every day plus the oral one. And the thing was getting worse.
Wow.
After 8 days, my daddy said, let's go to the farm. So we went to the farm. Not that he knew what to do, but he just saw that what was happening was not working. So he took me to the farm. And when we got there, he was just asking around the village, this is what is happening to my son. Can anybody help? Do you know any help we can use? And there was one, Baba Daniel. I remember his name very well. The man is late now. Baba Daniel just said, what happened? So I explained to him. He said, oh, that. He just went to the backyard. He just plucked a few leaves, blended them together. I don't know, he just gave it in a glass, like half a cup. Said, drink. I just drank it. It was like fire burning and you poured cold water. It just, as it was going down, it was like it just cooled the whole thing down. By the next day, when I went there, I was smiling and relaxed, and he said, just take a second shot, and that's it. 2 shots, and I was okay. Now, I'm coming back to the point where I caught you in, that most of the people who have this knowledge are dying off without documenting it. Now, Baba Daniel is dead. Now I look back and I say, wait a minute, why didn't I ask him?
What did he use?
What are the names of those herbs that you plucked together and blended? Now, I didn't ask. I don't know. My father didn't ask. He doesn't know. The man is dead. We don't have documentation. And that is happening over and over and over. Yes, please. Sorry for cutting in. Let's continue from there.
This is an aspect that I personally believe that the Western world too is deliberate.
Okay.
To shield us away from transferring this knowledge within ourselves. If in the time past we have stories of people that were identified in communities as experts, that is either they carry them abroad to extract much information from them, and they will document. They will document. They know Africans are naturally poor in documenting. They receive the information, they keep in their archive. They release us to die with our information, but they
are preserving it for themselves.
This series of book called Bokil, Bokil is about 6 or 7 volumes. Was compiled by the whites about African medicinal plants. Not less than 6,000 plants were documented in those volumes. But thank God that they documented it, and some of the Africans who are deliberately interested can get the book now.
Okay.
If
can
not,
you give us the book so that people can? Is it available?
Well, the ones I have read. My uncle bought it from US.
Oh.
But it was written. It was explorations from African countries, and African plants. I get it, but maybe in some classic bookstore libraries you will see it.
Okay.
But not readily sold.
Not on Amazon.
Not readily sold. So, but what I'm saying is this: they know that if it is possible to shield us from this knowledge preservation, a time will come we become slaves to what we used to own. That is one core thing that has been my quest that it should not happen.
Please talk to our governments at different levels.
Now, I will say confidently that our government as a country should give a freer window, monitored but freer window, to the development of herbal medicine in Nigeria.
Homegrown remedies.
Homegrown. In fact, do you know that when people talk about imported organic drugs, as soon as it is imported, I'm not querying the originality and the efficacy of those drugs. But as soon as it is imported, I lose interest.
Why?
Because we can do better here with our own resources.
Now, somebody made a statement the other day, and I want you to please confirm or rule out.
Okay.
He says, if a plant grows in this environment where I live, that it contains elements from this environment that is more customized for me that is living in this environment than somebody living in another clime.
Very true.
Okay.
Extremely very true. The reason is that water is the highest part, is the greatest part of the human body. And the environment from where you drink the water, talking about natural setting now. The water of the environment you drink has a kind of imaging of your person that is relating you better to the plants of the same environment.
Okay.
Now let me put an example. If that environment has a high quantity of potassium, or sodium, or calcium, that the plant is exposed absorbing to grow, the same variables are affecting the water you draw from that environment.
Same soil,
You have been drinking that water, your body is hosting a nature that is a function of the water you drink.
Right.
In fact, the food you eat from the environment.
Right.
So in an ideal setting, really, if you really want to take advantage of the nature, the phyllanthus or the goat weed that you harvest from your immediate environment may do you better good. If you panic, may do you better. It may do you good. It may be better for you than the phyllanthus that is sent from another country to you, except the condition of that country is similar to the condition of your country. That is possible.
Right.
But I tell you, by nature, by intelligence of God, by the love of God, by the mercies of God, sincerely, I can say that what you need, by the time you turn around from your environment, you will locate items that are needful for a condition per time. And that's sincerely practical truth. In fact, when I go to trainings, I deliberately don't go with herbal resources from my own environment. I come to where I'm going to train people. Even here in Lagos, I still wait to get to Lagos to tell you that even in Lagos, there are still herbal resources around you. Let's talk about the example of pollution.
Right.
We know that the industrial pollution is heavier in Lagos.
That's right.
But the adaptation of Lagosians too to that industrial pollution
is higher
than people that are in a very local place. So when you take an herbal medicine from Lagos,
the plant too has adapted.
The gradient,
right.
The gradient is compatible.
Right.
So you don't tell me that because Lagos is polluted, you can't use the herbal medicine in Lagos, and your body itself is polluted. The thing has a way of interacting with intelligence. There are some things I will not be able to say scientifically, explain scientifically, absolutely scientifically, but when you see results, Bishop Oyedepo will say, only fools doubt proofs.
Right.
So when you see proof, and you still want to doubt, it means you are almost like a fool. But I tell you the truth, if you don't want to be a fool, subscribe to what is true, and it has proofs. To round up, sir, I want to say that over the years, I'm just about almost 40 years, close to 40 years. But I know that I've had different malaria drugs in the last 30 years that are just changing from chloroquine to Nican to Camoquine to different. It's just changing. Just changing. Because they believe that one is no longer as good as
the parasite has developed
resistance.
Right.
But the same Morinda lucida that was used 200 years ago is still doing the work till today.
That brings me, they've been signaling to us that we have to round up now, but let me bring this in before we go. And that is the fact that somebody said these parasites and microorganisms that usually develop resistance to synthetic drugs, that they are never able to develop resistance to natural substances.
No, if they even develop it, it is even the drug that they are changing.
Right.
That gives them capacity to develop that resistance.
Okay.
They want to adapt to changing environments.
Right.
But with herbal medicine, it is not true. It is not possible.
Right.
Even when they are there, we overcome them with time.
Right.
They are trying to say, I'm stubborn. When iron meets iron, one bends for one. The sincere truth is that herbal medicine has more sustainable effectiveness, more body-friendly effectiveness for human body per time. And I always look at it that only truth lasts the test of time.
Thank you very much. This is how far we can go. There was something else I wanted to bring up, but time will not permit us. I know, I think I've listened to you deliver a lecture on that, to look at the different regulations and looking at different abuses and different mistakes that people can make in the deployment of herbal medicine, so that people can be guided and be well informed. Because if you look out there, there are so many people who are practicing, quackery, and who are just taking advantage of people in the name of herbal medicine. And that has brought a bad image to the practice. And I wanted us to talk about that. What are the untoward and unbecoming practices that we see out there that we need to watch out for, and how do we talk to our government to bring in probably more control and regulation so that this thing can be sanitized and it will not be bastardized to the point that it's given a bad name. Something that is so good, so beautiful, so useful, so affordable, so available, yet some people are hesitant simply because of some of these bad eggs and bad elements in the practice. But time will not permit us to talk about all of that, but we just want to thank you for taking out the time to be with us and to bear your heart and your mind with us today. We appreciate you so much.
Sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
There are more to say on herbal medicine.
Right.
But I believe that this sensitization of human interest to knowing more about this, if it is growing, a time will come that individual wants to know what to do by himself, or first aid, naturally available first aid to take before So this government, God will help us to be practically having interest of the populace and not just the monetary gains.
Thank you very much, sir. Dr. Gbenga Oye.
Thank you very much,
PhD. Viewers, we want to also thank you very much for your time with us this evening. This has been Expose. We always say what we need is not more medication, but more education, because the best prescription is knowledge. We appreciate your time with us this evening. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Also press the notification bell by the side of it if you are watching us on YouTube. And share this also with your friends and family. If you are watching us on Facebook, we'd like you to please like us on Facebook. And if you are watching us on Instagram, please follow us on Instagram. And tell all your friends and neighbors and colleagues that Expose comes up every Monday, 8 p.m. West African time. And that is always a wonderful experience. Hopefully, we'll be able to get Dr. Gbenga Oye to come back one of these days. I cannot tell when. He definitely needs to do a repeat of what we have done here. Maybe not talking about exactly what we talked about today, but something else. By next episode, I'll be bringing a medical doctor, an allopathic doctor, who also practices herbal medicine. And he will give another layer to this conversation. And don't forget that we're going to have a chiropractic doctor, we're going to have a homeopathic doctor, we're going to have an osteopathic doctor, and we will explore all the medical systems, and it will be a very, very mind-blowing experience with information for your health transformation. Thank you once again. God bless you.
My name is Dr. Lolade Akinriola. I'm an osteopath. I'm a physiotherapist. I'm a certified lymphedema therapist. I want to invite you to watch Expose with Reverend Tony Akeyemi on Mondays, Nigerian time, 8 p.m. You can watch it on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. I want to encourage you that if you watch this program, it's highly educative. It's going to bless you. It actually exposes a lot of things about our well-being and our health. So I'm encouraging you to join Reverend Tony Akeyemi every Monday on Expose, 8 p.m. Nigerian time.
About 8 million Nigerians suffer from hypertension and 4 million has diabetes. 100,000 new cases of cancers are diagnosed each year in Nigeria. These and many more chronic disease conditions are cutting the lives of many short. Join Tony Akeyemi to be equipped to prevent and reverse these and many more chronic diseases. at the online Module 2 Healthy Living Training. Courses cover areas like advanced weight management, tropical herbs in usage, infertility, eye health, prevention and reversal of hypertension, prevention and reversal of diabetes, prevention and reversal of arthritis. Date: Wednesday, June 23rd to Saturday, June 26, 2021. For more details, please call 0902 976 6076 or 0806 702 0412.